Are you acting according to the season that you're in? Hi, Preston Squire, author, coach, and publisher. And this week we're talking about being in congruence with the season that you're in. If you've been watching these weekly videos, every week I do one of these inspirational videos, you'll see that behind me and all around me, I'm suddenly in a different season. Up until this point, it's been snow and ice on the ground every single day, and now all of a sudden, it's all gone. Spring has come, and it's not yet in, seeing greenery or buds here, but we can see that the weather is much nicer. I'm dressed a little lighter. I don't have a hat on, for example, and of course, the snow's gone. So what? So, what I'm saying to you today is you have to recognize the season that you're in and make sure that what you're doing and what you're doing for God and what God's having you do is in step with the season that you're in. And a couple of examples come to mind. I was hearing on a Easter passage, one pastor was talking about when Jesus had come back from the dead. He's visited the disciples a couple times, but they're in this in-between season of, what was and what is. And being a bunch of men who were no doubt hungry and bored, Peter, who is a fisherman, decides, you know what, I'm going to go fishing, which is a completely responsible and logical and thing to do. If you got a bunch of guys hanging around hungry, why wouldn't you go fishing? And there's nothing wrong with that. But and even though there's nothing wrong with it, it's still going back to something that he did in a past season that isn't necessarily where he needs to be in the current season. I'm going to give you another example. Is a recent movie came out that was talking about the Jesus movement of the late 60s, early 70s, where all these hippies discovered Christ and led to a huge influx of young people into the church at that time. Massive. But one of the first pastors to do this, you can imagine he's got this parish with all these old men in their suits, and all of a sudden he's starting to let these hippies come in their scruffy, unwashed mass of people living in communes. And yeah, you can understand how some of the elders were quite upset and walked out of service because they didn't agree with this. But the pastor understood that although this was different and difficult and unfamiliar, that it was a new season, that God was doing something new in this new season, and he was acting in congruence with this new season. And another aspect, you've probably no doubt heard a lot of hubbub about AI and how is AI going to affect your writing. And I'm sure many of you are like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that, and the old ways are better. And you may be right, but recognize we've entered into a new season, and you have to at least stop and check it out and understand it fully before you proceed. Because what is God having you do in this season? What are the needs of this season? What do people need to know in this season? How can you impact them in this season? So that's my word for you today, is just to look at where God has you in life right now, and are you in a new season? And does this new season require new actions? Like these days I'm starting to hear people blowing leaves and cutting woods and doing all sorts of stuff that wouldn't have happened just a week ago when there was still a lot of snow on the ground. So as a new season comes, new actions, new ways of being come into play. So just know what season you're in. God bless. Talk to you later.